Hi, my name is Elray Alexander. I am a gay South African male. I see myself as a South African, and that's how I identify myself, as a South African male. There was always something I knew within inside of me that was different. And you know, growing up in a coloured home people weren't really open to it. It wasn't really explained so much. Growing up was hard. There was a lot of misunderstanding. There was a lot of unknown. There was a lot of fear. And I wasn't quite comfortable with my identity at the time, growing up to, you know, blatantly just scream it out there and expect people to understand it. So I don't think they knew as such as a relationship. But the older I got and the more confident I got and the more accepting of myself I got, I came to a point where it made sense to me that I could only be who I am. And at that point, I came out to my parents and family, and finding out now that they'd always suspected as such or understood that there was something different could have saved me a lot of heartache and a lot of pain. If I think about sexual discrimination based on being homosexual, I suppose there were a lot of cases where people didn't understand what it was like to be a homosexual man and said things in jest or said things in a process that they didn't understand or they were taught you know, in a certain way. And a lot of things was either said or done that was quite hurtful. If I think back at particular incidents, I must admit, school wasn't easy. And for some reason, it came to a point in my life, especially my young teens, where I sort of brushed it off, where things didn't really matter, because in those defining times of your teenage years where you realize that you're a homosexual and you start understanding what the concept is, these horrific words and these horrific tendencies people have started meaning less and less. So yes, on one hand it was there, but on the other hand it made me a stronger character today. I think in South Africa right now, at the time we live in today, it's a fantastic time for not only homosexuals, not only for people of different race or people of different you know, genders. As a South African homosexual, the world is open to you, so South Africa, and I find that it's easier now. It's become more acceptable now. People understand now. As South Africans, we probably live in one of the most liberal constitution countries in the world. Yet, in our own communities, people still tend to scorn, discriminate, find fault, and somehow torture individuals that are different. Be more aware of how you react, how you say things, or how you perceive differences, because the other person might be seeing something different in you.
How's it? My name is Melanie Lowe and I am a singer, and I know for myself I always knew that I was homosexual. I don't believe that homosexuality develops over the years. I think you're either born that way or not. I think the problem for most people is that it takes a long time to come to terms with being homosexual. So you fight it, you try to live a so-called normal life, but in your heart you always know that you actually are gay. And for me, I always knew that was the case. When I came out, I was 19, very young, still living at home, a very religious family, and they didn't take very well to it initially. It took about 15 years for my parents to actually accept who I was, and it was only as I became older and grew to accept it myself, because it's something that I struggled with for a very, very long time. So I think the day that I actually became comfortable with it, my parents and everyone else around me became comfortable with it. But I think there are a lot of lesbian women in South Africa who experience extreme trauma and just horrific circumstances. So yeah, I think we have a long way to go. People have come a long way, but there's still a long way to go before they actually stop fearing it and start just accepting it and letting people live their lives. Until that point, I think there are a lot of lesbians who are in actual real danger. In the news, you hear stories almost every day of lesbian women who are attacked or vilified or belittled or killed, raped. I mean, there's so many possibilities. You hear of it almost on a daily basis, whether it's in the news or just within our community. Half the time what people say, they say out of fear. It comes from a place of ignorance. So you don't hold it against them. You just, all I can do is try and educate them. But it's a horrible feeling. It is horrible to know that people look at you and judge you based purely on your sexuality, which as far as I'm concerned does not define who I am at all. I don't see my sexual identity as a big part of me. You know, obviously it's something that I'm always going to talk about because it's real to me. My spouse is a woman. I talk about her all the time because she is my life. So in that regard, I suppose, you know, it's a big part of my life, but it doesn't define who I am as a person. I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter, I study in my spare time, I'm a mother to 6 cats, and, you know, I have family and friends, and we have brides, and, you know, there's so much more to me and to her that the fact that we're gay is just, it's a non-issue. I still don't understand, I'll never understand why people turn that into an issue when there's so much more to our personalities and our characters than that one little thing. And I really do hope that as time progresses and people become more educated, the fact that how I live my life won't be such an issue for everybody else. I think we have a very progressive constitution. We are, you know, one of a very small minority. I'm horrified at what's going on in the rest of Africa. You know, countries like Uganda trying to pass a death bill against gay people. You sort of think, how can being gay warrant killing you? I can't get my head around that. You know, I mean, a lot of Africa is still on that path. So for me, I mean, I'm exceptionally proud of South Africa that we've actually done this, and we are so much more progressive even than America. Even in America, it's not legal to marry your partner if you're gay. You know, and you sort of think, America, really? They're the most out there, forward-thinking country you can imagine. I just want to say, at the end of the day, you are the only one who is in control of your life. Doesn't matter what age you are. From the time you were born until the time you die, you know what's in your heart. Nobody else knows that. And I think it's so important to hold on to that. Be true to yourself, live your truth, and other people around you will have to accept it.
Ya, ke tebogo nkwana ke nna mo Seshangove Pretoria. Ke nna human rights activist. Yeah, I'm transgender and intersex human rights activist. Now for now, I would prefer to use term agender, not necessarily sexuality in my case, because I'm a transgender person. So when I talk of gender, ke bolela ka either men or women. How society simpona ka teng simpona either ka bana ka monna kgotsa ka mosadi. Understand? So now I'm a man. I was born as a girl. Yeah, so and I really thought I get a lesbian for quite consistently until I was exposed to terminology and terminology of transgender. That terminology when I was watching TV, there was this guy who interviewing then then I really felt that person identify in a way. Yeah, so I went out, I found information about transitioning, and I got so through organization by Visa and Gender Dynamics based in Cape Town. It was organization one in South Africa. Issues that transgender issues. So yeah. So after I got in touch now we spoke about ways of proceeding my transition, and then they referred me to right people like a psychologist who diagnosed me gender identity disorder then official number by gender identity dysphoria. Yeah, so they diagnosed me as I started my hormones Cape Town by that time. I started taking hormones how I look, you know. Hormones I'm taking testosterone. So it basically gives me the secondary sexual characteristics. We're talking of voice breaker, the tedu, and then body structure, how it changes. I mean, when a girl the curve and all that, so body structure got changed from yabanyana to yabuntat. Yeah, so basically that's what happened, and I went surgeries. Yeah, hormones how do you remove your breast? They don't remove sexual organs or whatsoever. So what they do, they just give you the sexual characteristics, and which they did. So I had to the surgery. Yeah, so surgery gets a top surgery, which was to remove my breast, because those things on my chest, so that I can flat chest. And then also I did hysterectomy. That was to remove womb, late ovaries. Yeah, and then I also did phalloplasty, penis reconstruction. So they were reconstructing penis. But to be transgender, they are human beings before they are transgender people. So they need your support, they need your respect, and then they need to be recognized as batwelong ilembona. Discrimination is not working at all. Being transgender person, and then if in our communities add on the personal stress a transgender individual deals with every day, it becomes a mission for Rona to survive. So we need support salona, we need understanding alona, and we need tolerance alona. Yeah.